Living in Eastern Arnhem Land, crocs do gone spare a Monday, spearing turtles done by hand, and Aboriginal ceremonies.
Jeff Aschmann has got a brand new album out. It's called This Is Aboriginal Country. Jeff Aschmann, tell us the musical background first for Jeff Aschmann.
I live in the bush down the south coast of New South Wales, and I guess I've taught music down here in schools. I'm a school teacher. I also write puppet shows and do children's musical stuff. And my songwriting basically probably started 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I started writing songs and then more songs, and then finally we started recording a few songs and, doing gigs around the place, mainly as a single artist. I'm still really keen on learning every day, progressing in music and teaching music. Of recent times, the last 10, 12 years, I've been working in Arnhem Land and basically teaching music but learning more about music up there. So it's been a life journey for me, and hopefully it's still going.
There's always a turn along the way, but tell us, what was the turn that got you to Arnhem Land?
Well, I've been teaching down the South Coast and doing bits and pieces of work around. I've always wanted to go to Arnhem Land. I love the bush. I've always wanted to know more about traditional Aboriginal people. I live a pretty remote, rugged lifestyle, built my own house and cut my own trees down and do bits and pieces. And I've wanted to learn about if there were any people around Australia that were still endeavouring more in original stuff, outdoor stuff. And Arnhem Land really, really drew me. I would always prefer to go to the most remote places and travel, and not just teaching music, but getting to know their culture. I'm very keen on environmental issues. It's really important to learn about some of their problems, what they have up there. To an extent, I've learned more than I've taught up there. It's one of those things that it's really made my life a lot richer as a person.
Jeff, your album's been out for a few weeks now, and little by little the tracks are being released. Now, you're going to have to help me with the pronunciation of track 2.
Track 2 is called Pitjantjatjara. And Pitjantjatjara is a language in extremely remote western deserts. The Pitjantjatjara language is actually spoken by the Inangu people. And this particular song is, well, most of my songs, and particularly Pitjantjatjara, is my observations of what's happening. Now, I'm a white fellow, and I don't really go around sucking the backside or patronizing Aboriginal people. I look at things and that are good and bad, and I like to write songs about those things. And Pitjantjatjara is a song which I wrote while bushwalking through the most remote areas in Western Northern Territory on the Western Australian border. And as I was walking through this particular area and looking at the rock art, looking at these things in this most amazing country, there were no Aboriginal people walking through these areas at all. And the song is basically about that, saying, where have they gone? And I've kind of turned around in the songwriting and looked at the animals, the kangaroos, the wallabies, the emus, the lizards. They're there. And I actually put them into the song as being observations, or they're left, but the human Aboriginal person that used to walk these areas, they're not there anymore. So that's what that particular song's about.
I'm afraid that we could talk all night. Well, I'm not afraid of that, but I know we're going to run out of time. But people are going to like what they hear, and if they do, what's the best way for them to be in touch with you? Obviously, all of this music's available on the digital platforms and so forth. Websites or social media?
Yeah, look, the best way to contact me is CRS Music Publicity, and that'll take people to the different avenues. And I'm really keen on people having a listen to these songs. I mean, that's pretty obvious. It's about learning more about Aboriginal people and learning more about Aboriginal education, which is our education. And if we can learn more, we can really appreciate, particularly within our local area. And that's what the songs do. I hope they encourage people to learn more about Aboriginal education and also learn more about Aboriginal history. It's been omitted, and that's our history. And I hope these songs kind of tell things how they are and encourage people to learn more about Aboriginality within their local area, wherever it may be. I think that's a good thing for all of us.
It's hard to argue with any of that. You mentioned you're a white fella, so we might play the first track on the album. It's called White Fella Man. Jeff Aschmann, it's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you tonight. Good luck with the music. Track 1, it's called White Fella Man.
I'm a white fella man. White fella man. I'm a white fella man. White fella man. I'm a white fella man. Living in a black fella land. I'm a white fella man. White fella man. I'm a white fella man. White fella man. I'm a white fella man. living in a black fella land.